Former chairman of the National Aeronautics Space Council, and as the man who had sponsored the law that established NASA, he had often heard other men say, "Go slow, back off. Why should we go to the moon?" He had held firm. Now he was holding his ground again, this time in Vietnam, a war that each day continued to produce its heartbreaking tragedies, triumphs, and heroes. Heroes like construction mechanic third-class Marvin Shields, a Navy Seabee who had been killed at Dong Hoi while serving with conspicuous gallantry above and beyond the call of duty. On the morning of September 13th, Marvin Shields was awarded the Medal of Honor. The award was accepted by Mrs. Joan Shields and her 2-year-old daughter, Barbara. Despite the many criticisms leveled at the White House about the conduct of the war in Vietnam, few candidates for office in November elections would take issue with the administration's viewpoint. As one critic put it, they all know that Lyndon Johnson had been the most fervent advocate for peace in and around his administration. The difficulty, however, is that he is not selling politicians or people, but governments, and the selling has to be done long range. In the normal course of events, official visits by foreign heads of state often have little impact on the relations between two countries. But the arrival of Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos and his lovely wife Imelda promised to be one of the rare exceptions. For the two leaders, the visit represented an opportunity for both of their countries to renew a long-standing bond of friendship. For President Marcos, only 10 months in office after a landslide election victory, this was, of course, an opportunity to seek increased aid for his stagnating home economy. But more importantly, it was also his first opportunity to impress upon the American people some of the home truths about the realities of power in Asia. Realities that had prompted him to commit a 2,000-man force to South Vietnam, despite strong congressional and leftist opposition in his own country. During the course of his 17-day visit, he would address both the United Nations General Assembly and a joint session of Congress. In each instance, he would eloquently underwrite U.S. aims and policies in Vietnam. To Congress and to President Johnson, he would propose the formation of an Asian Forum to deal with any future crisis in Asia, as well as the present conflict in Vietnam. Realistically, the forum would have to be based on the reality of Asian diversity, and it would need to work with the tide of Asian nationalism while looking ahead toward progress and peaceful construction. Whether his plan would die abortively or not, the Marcos visit to Washington had served as a flourish to his entrance onto the international stage. And it had given President Johnson formal notice that this young, articulate Asian leader would be heard from again. September 16th, President Johnson signed the Federal Mine Safety Act, extending new federal health and safety standards to more than 250,000 working Americans. Within a week, he would observe his 1,037th day in office, the exact amount of time served by his predecessor, John F. Kennedy. Future historians, looking beyond TV images, news conferences, or Texas accents, would undoubtedly find the accomplishments of those 1,037 days amazing when gauged against the past performances of other presidents. As chief executive, President Johnson had signed a school education bill,